accident on the floor, I realized something important. Potty training was not going to be easy unless I truly understood my puppy and changed the way I acted. That moment was the real beginning of my journey. I remember standing there in the dim light of the hallway, looking at my small puppy sitting quietly, not knowing what he had done wrong. That was when I promised myself I would train him the right way. Not with anger, not with confusion, but with patience and a clear plan. I did not want weeks of mess and stress. I wanted fast and easy results, but done properly. The next morning, I woke up early before the sun came up. I carried my puppy outside instead of letting him walk on his own. I had learned that puppies often cannot hold it after waking up. I placed him on the grass in the same corner of the yard. I stood still and waited. At first, nothing happened. He looked around, distracted by sounds and smells. I stayed quiet and calm. Then it happened. The moment he finished, I praised him gently and gave him a small treat. That was the first success, and it felt bigger than I expected. From that moment, I understood something very important. Timing was everything. Puppies do not understand rules the way humans do. They learn by patterns. If I wanted fast results, I had to control the pattern of his day. I started paying attention to every detail. When he ate, when he drank water, when he played, and when he slept. Every one of those moments led to a potty break. I created a simple routine and stuck to it strictly. Right after waking up, we went outside. Right after eating, we went outside. After playtime, we went outside. Before bedtime, we went outside. I did not guess. I did not wait for signs. I acted before accidents could happen. This one change reduced mistakes inside the house almost immediately. Still, accidents happened. One afternoon, I got distracted by my phone. Just for a few minutes. That was all it took. I found a small mess on the carpet. My first reaction was frustration. But I stopped myself. I remembered that my puppy was not being bad. He was learning. I cleaned the area properly and said nothing to him. That day taught me another lesson. Supervision was not optional. It was necessary. I started keeping my puppy close to me at all times. If I could not watch him, he stayed in his crate. The crate was not a punishment. It was his safe place. I made sure it was just big enough for him to stand and turn around. Dogs naturally avoid soiling where they sleep, and this worked better than I expected. When I let him out of the crate, we went straight outside. No playing, no waiting, just straight to the potty spot. One thing that surprised me was how fast my puppy began to understand the routine. Within a few days, he started walking toward the door when he needed to go. Sometimes he sat quietly and looked at me. Those small signs felt like huge progress. I realized that training was not about forcing behavior, it was about listening. I also started using the same words every time. I chose simple words and said them calmly when he was about to go. I did not repeat them constantly. I said them once at the right moment. Over time, he began to connect the words with the action. This made everything easier, especially during busy days. Nighttime was still a challenge. The first few nights, I had to wake up once to take him outside. I kept the lights low and my voice calm. No excitement, no play, just business. Slowly, those nighttime trips became less frequent. His body was growing stronger and the routine was helping. By the end of the first week, I noticed something clear. Potty training was not about speed alone, it was about clarity. My puppy was not confused anymore. He knew where to go, he knew what was expected, and most importantly, he trusted me to guide him. That trust was the foundation. Without it, no guide, no method, and no schedule would work. I still had more to learn, and challenges were ahead, but I finally felt confident. The hard part was not cleaning accidents. The hard part was changing my own habits. Once I did that, everything started to fall into place.
As the second week began, I realized that early success could be misleading. My puppy was doing well, but that did not mean the job was done. This was the stage where many people relaxed too soon, and I refused to make that mistake. I reminded myself every morning that consistency was the real trainer, not treats or words. One day, I decided to test something without meaning to. I extended his playtime a little longer than usual. He was running around the living room, full of energy, and I thought he would be fine for a few more minutes. I was wrong. The accident happened quickly and silently. When I saw it, I did not get upset, but I paid attention. The lesson was clear. Excitement shortened his control. From that moment on, I added potty breaks after every active moment, no matter how short it was. I began to understand my puppy's signals better. Before, I was watching the clock. Now, I was watching him. When he sniffed the floor, walked in small circles, or suddenly stopped playing, those were signs. Catching those moments felt like solving a puzzle. Each correct response prevented another accident, and every prevention made him more confident. The crate continued to play a big role. Some people told me to stop using it once accidents slowed down, but I did not listen. The crate was not just for preventing mistakes, it helped my puppy relax. He slept better, and calmer puppies learn faster. I kept the crate near me so he never felt isolated. That choice made a difference in his behavior. There was one afternoon that really tested my patience. I took him outside, waited several minutes, and nothing happened. I brought him back inside thinking he might not need to go. Less than 5 minutes later, he had an accident. I felt frustrated, not at him, but at myself. I realized I had rushed the process. From then on, if nothing happened outside, I brought him back in and watched him closely for a few minutes, then tried again. That small adjustment changed everything. I also learned the importance of cleaning properly. Regular cleaners were not enough. Even if I could not smell anything, my puppy could. I started using a cleaner designed specifically for pet accidents. After that, he stopped returning to the same spots. It was a simple fix, but it saved me from repeated mistakes. As days passed, I noticed something new. My puppy began going to the door on his own more often. Sometimes he would sit quietly, other times he would pace near the door. Each time I responded quickly, I reinforced the behavior. I did not ignore it even once. I knew that missing one signal could confuse him. Food and water timing became important. I stopped leaving food out all day. Meals happened at the same times every day. Water was available often, but I paid attention to when he drank. This made his potty schedule more predictable. Predictability reduced stress for both of us. There were moments when training felt repetitive. Same door, same spot, same words, same routine. But repetition was exactly what my puppy needed. Dogs do not get bored of routines the way humans do. They feel safe in them. Every repeated action was building understanding in his mind. One evening, something happened that showed me how far we had come. I was watching television and lost track of time. Suddenly, my puppy came and sat directly in front of me, staring quietly. I knew instantly what he needed. I took him outside, and he went right away. That moment felt like a breakthrough. He was communicating, and I was listening. Nighttime also improved. The whining stopped. He slept longer. I still took him out before bed, and I kept the same calm behavior. No excitement, just routine. Slowly, the nights became peaceful again. By the end of the second week, accidents were rare. Not gone, but rare. More importantly, my puppy understood the system. He knew where to go, how to tell me, and what to expect afterward. The house felt calmer. I felt more confident. But I also knew that one mistake could undo progress. Training was working, but only because I stayed alert. This stage taught me discipline, not just for my puppy, but for myself. Potty training was no longer about reacting. It was about preventing problems before they happened. And as I prepared for the next stage, I understood that the real challenge was maintaining success, not reaching it.
By the third stage of training, life started to feel more normal again. I was not constantly watching the floor, and my puppy was not having accidents every day. Still, I knew this was not the time to relax. This was the phase where habits became permanent, and I wanted to make sure the right ones stayed. I slowly began giving my puppy more freedom in the house. Not all at once, but one room at a time. I watched how he behaved when he had extra space. At first, he stayed close to me, moving carefully as if he understood this was a privilege. I took that as a good sign. Whenever we entered a new area, I made sure to take him outside first. That way, he started each new space with an empty bladder. One afternoon, I noticed something interesting. He walked toward the door without stopping to look at me first. He stood there quietly, waiting. That moment told me he was no longer just following a routine, he was making a decision on his own. I praised him and took him outside immediately. That simple action reinforced independence in the right way. There were still challenges. One day, a friend came over, and the excitement changed everything. My puppy became distracted and forgot his signals. An accident happened near the door. Instead of getting frustrated, I reminded myself that distractions are difficult for young dogs. I adjusted the plan. When visitors came over, I increased potty breaks and reduced freedom. The problem did not happen again. I also paid attention to changes in his body. As he grew, his bladder control improved. He could hold it longer, but I did not push him to the limit. Just because he could wait longer did not mean he should. I slowly extended time between breaks, watching closely for signs of stress or restlessness. This gradual approach prevented setbacks. Another important lesson came from rainy days. My puppy did not like going outside when the ground was wet. At first, he hesitated and tried to rush back inside. I stayed patient. I stood with him, calm and steady, until he finished. I did not change the location or routine just because the weather was bad. Within a few days, rain stopped being an issue. I also started to fade treats slowly. I still praised him, but I did not give food every time. This helped him understand that going potty outside was expected behavior, not just a way to earn a reward. He responded well to this change, and his confidence grew. One evening, I made a mistake that could have caused a setback. I assumed he did not need a potty break because he had been resting quietly. That assumption was wrong. He gave a small signal that I missed, and an accident happened. Instead of getting discouraged, I learned from it. I reminded myself that signals can be subtle, and attention still mattered. Cleaning accidents became rare, but I stayed prepared. I never ignored a mess, and I always cleaned thoroughly. I knew that even one missed spot could confuse him. That level of care paid off because he never returned to old accident areas. At night, he no longer needed breaks. He slept peacefully until morning. The first time we made it through the night without waking up, I felt a sense of relief. It meant his body and routine were finally in sync. Still, I kept the bedtime routine exactly the same. Consistency remained the rule. The biggest change I noticed was his confidence. He walked through the house calmly. He rested without anxiety. He trusted that his needs would be met. That trust came from clear communication and predictable responses. I was no longer guessing what he needed, and he was no longer guessing what I wanted. By this stage, potty training was no longer the main focus of our day. It had become part of life. The habits were strong, and the bond between us had grown through patience and understanding. I knew we were close to the final stage, where training would turn into long-term success. But I also knew that finishing strong mattered just as much as starting right.
The final stage of potty training did not arrive suddenly. It came quietly, through many small moments that showed me how much my puppy had learned. One morning, I woke up late by accident. Panic hit me immediately. I rushed out of bed expecting a mess. Instead, I found my puppy sitting calmly near the door, waiting. That moment told me everything. The training had worked. From that day on, I trusted him more, but I never stopped paying attention. Trust did not mean forgetting the routine. It meant respecting it. I kept meal times consistent. I kept the same potty spot. I kept responding quickly when he asked. These habits were no longer training steps. They were part of daily life. I tested longer periods inside the house. I left him alone in a safe space for short times. Each time I returned, there were no accidents. When we went outside, he went directly to his spot without hesitation. There was no confusion, no hesitation, and no fear. He knew exactly what to do. One important lesson I learned was that regression can happen. One evening, after a long car ride, he had an accident inside. Instead of feeling disappointed, I understood why it happened. Stress, change, and tiredness affect dogs just like people. I went back to basics for a day or two, increased potty breaks, and the problem disappeared. That flexibility kept training strong. I stopped using the crate regularly, but I never removed it completely. It remained his safe place. Sometimes he chose to rest there on his own. That showed me the crate had never been a negative thing. It was part of his comfort, not control. Guests came over again, and this time there were no accidents. Loud voices, movement, and excitement did not confuse him anymore. He asked to go outside clearly and waited patiently. That moment showed me he could handle real-life situations, not just quiet training days. Weather changes no longer mattered. Cold mornings, rain, or heat did not affect his behavior. The routine was stronger than distractions. He understood that outside was the only place for potty, no matter what. One afternoon, I realized something important. I had stopped thinking about potty training. I was no longer counting hours or watching the floor. The stress was gone. My puppy moved freely and the house felt peaceful again. That was the true sign of success. Looking back, the process was simple, but it was not careless. It required attention, patience, and responsibility. Fast and easy did not mean rushed. It meant clear communication and consistent action. Every mistake taught me something. Every success reinforced trust. The biggest change was not in my puppy. It was in me. I learned how to lead calmly, respond clearly, and stay consistent even when it felt repetitive. My puppy learned where to go, how to ask, and what to expect. Together, we built understanding step by step. Potty training was no longer a challenge. It was a finished chapter. And from that strong foundation, everything else in training became easier. Obedience, behavior, and confidence all grew from this first lesson done the right way.